SS France fictional story. The SS France was departing from mainland on her way to New York City with 495 passengers on board. She was going to New York, as I just said, on a lovely voyage, but she would have a cruise on the way there. It was raining, though. The passengers decided they would stay inside for the best. No one was on deck that night. And so, she departed mainland on another voyage. The ship, big nonetheless, was not as big as the massive Queen Mary II, or the Queen Elizabeth II. Two giant vessels that were on the sea. She surpassed most ships like Cunard's little ship Carpathia, in many ways, shape, or form. Anyways, so, on her way out of mainland, she almost crashed into an island. But the captain was confident that they wouldn't hit it. And indeed was the captain right. They steered the ship away before it collided with the island. So, she was on her way to New York, as I said already 2 times now. The ship passed the island successfully. And now the true voyage began. Her bulbous bow piercing the waves. Her engines were going nice and fine. The 2 funnels were steaming like a charm. Passengers knew this was going to be a pretty good voyage, despite the rainy weather, of course. The ship would reach New York in about 3 days. Because of the cruise it was planning to have along the way. So yeah, she was going just fine. Just fine. Ah, come on. Well, that was my bad. The ship crashed into the edge of the map. In fact, we're playing on Roblox Tiny Sailor's World to do this story. This was an event ship, but I was able to get it with Roblox. So the ship was sailing pretty fine through the waves. The captain and crew were unaware of the disaster ahead. But that disaster would not happen. No, would it? No. The captain saw there was an island up ahead, so they decided to turn it away from the island. The ship successfully navigated its way past the island. And indeed it would. The ship barely missed out on grazing the sand alongside the island. The ship, still on its way nonetheless, turned away from the island. big explosion goes off, and the ship begins listing hard over the starboard. As the ship begins listing, the captain knows now that he screwed up big time. They begin launching the lifeboats. "Launch the lifeboats!" the captain yelled frantically, trying to get the passengers to listen. But it was no good. Passengers dove off the ship. Lifeboats were barely able to be launched, to be real. How are they being launched in this type of condition? No one will know. But yes, pretty much. The ship begins leaning over very quickly until she capsizes completely. Rolled over completely onto her starboard side, she laid. Her funnels began to dip their toes into the water as the bow began submerging. At the back end, the stern was still going pretty strong up the water, but then the water washed over that too. The ship's center was the only thing that was really afloat, but the superstructure was now dipping beneath the water. Fully capsized, the ship made its way underneath the sea. The thing that caused this thinking was an engine explosion. An engine explosion. The ship began to submerge below the sea. As the ship begins slowly going down, the funnels and stuff crack off. The boilers and engines fly out of the ship. As the ship begins its descent, it began moving at lightning speed, going to the bottom of the ocean. It began to stabilize ever so slowly, but it didn't stabilize quickly. As she approached the sea floor, a big explosion happened. She rolled upright with miraculous strength. The funnels and boilers and engines came resting behind her, as at that day, the SS Front remained at the bottom of the sea in Roblox's tiny sailor's world. The ship was never, after that, seen again in history.